This is Ambazonia Calling. News, analysis, commentary, opinion, editorials. Ambazonia Calling is a co-production of Africa Freedom Network, the Missions Tribune, and Compass Free Press. Welcome. My name is Ntumfoyn Herbert, and I bring revolutionary greetings from our studios in Washington, D.C. to all of you, friends of Ambazonia and fellow Ambazonians on Ground Zero and across the globe.
As we bid 2018 farewell, we must ring in the new year with a firm resolve to shade off the excesses we have fed into monsters that are about to devour us. Lambert Mbom.
This complaint is actually an attack on this entire liberation struggle. If we are not talking about this lawsuit and strategizing on how to fight back, then we might as well just roll up our mats and go home. This is C. Ajibo Ambe.
Peaceful, diplomatic, and non-violent approaches are more likely to attract high levels of participations across the board and facilitate the path to recognition. This is Jude Agua Osogen.
Ambazonians must come to the realization that the diplomacy and politics of recognition calls on us to play smart. I am Manjong Jude Ambe.
Even as the hour is dark for Ambazonians and the mass slaughter of thousands is numbing, Ambazonians should remember that it is through such an hour of darkness that Timor-Leste had to pass just before gaining international sovereignty. This is Tanya Esime.
Ambazonia has officially been named Africa's worst mass displacement crisis, the worst crisis in the Gulf of Guinea since the Biafra War. This is the monk from Ibalikumato.
Mass seizure and destruction of ceremonial guns are part of a little reported criminal act of cultural genocide against the peace-loving people of Ambazonia. This is Delano Mukom.
Ambazonia Calling has seen and is revolted by a video showing a man arrested, stripped half naked, tortured with his hands bound to his back, reportedly for being an officer of the colonial force of the Republic of Cameroon. In another short video clip, the same soldier or victim is shown being beheaded. Ambazonia Calling denounces this act of barbarism with the last ounce of strength left in our hearts and souls. The short video clips show acts that most likely qualify as war crimes. In my twin capacity as the host of Ambazonia Calling, but also as the spokesperson for the movement for the restoration of the independence of Southern Cameroon's Maurice, and speaking as a member of the Ambazonia Recognition Collaborative Council ARC, we reject totally and completely such acts of blind evil and hatred. We call on the international community to ensure that those responsible for such evil are held accountable for their crimes. If you have not heard yet, then hear from me. A lawsuit has been filed in a court in California in the United States targeting the Ambazonian revolution and trying to kill it by charging it with terrorism. What else? It smells like La République du Cameroun. It smells like something the Biya regime would be doing. But here to open up our program with details about the case is our own C. Ajibo Ambe, who is Secretary General for Maurice and one of the legal counsels for Maurice. She's read through the complaint.
I just finally finished reading the 66-page complaint filed by Nsalai Law Firm, purportedly against Tapang Ivor and by extension the ADF. This complaint is actually an attack on this entire liberation struggle and should be treated with utmost seriousness. For those who have not yet read it, and I know there are many, this complaint basically describes Tapang Ivor, the ADF, the IG, all frontline groups and all Ambazonians fighting for the restoration of independence of Ambazonia as terrorists. The complaint specifically names as conspirators, and I quote, Ayabacho, Chris Anu, Bo Herbert, Akwanga Ebenezer, Mark Beretta, Ikome Sako, Eric Tato, and others. The complaint alleges in pertinent part that these men, in fact all Ambazonians fighting for the liberation of Ambazonia, have broken and are still breaking basically every single United States anti-terrorism law on the books, as well as facilitating international terrorism. Besides praying for monetary and punitive damages, the complaint specifically prays in pertinent part that an injunction be issued as follows, and I quote, injunction including a preliminary injunction restraining Tapang and his agents, fighters, organization, and those acting in active concert or participation with him from engaging in conduct as alleged in this complaint, and principally the material support of terrorism in Cameroon, and including but not limited to an injunction against engaging in these crimes, aiding, abetting, counseling, commanding, inducing, or procuring a federal crime, conspiring to commit a federal crime, conspiring to commit an act of terrorism, providing material support to terrorists, prohibitions against the financing of terrorism, kidnapping, assault, battery, murder, destruction of property, civilian intimidation and threats, without limitation. In other words, the primary aim of this lawsuit is to put an end to the Ambazonia liberation struggle. This lawsuit is not, and I repeat, not about Tapang Ivor and the ADF. It is about all Ambazonians who are fighting for freedom. It is about successfully branding us all as terrorists who are out to destabilize La République du Cameroun. It is about shutting us up and shutting down the revolution. If a United States federal court rules in favor of the plaintiffs in this case, meaning that the court agrees that we are all terrorists, there's no telling what other courts in other countries around the world might do when similar copycat cases shall be presented in those courts. This lawsuit is not about seeking justice for a couple of U.S. citizens originally from in the Northwest region who allegedly lost members as a result of alleged ADF activities. It is about killing the struggle. This is La République du Cameroun in action. If we do not all rise up to challenge this calculated attack on our revolution, we are doomed. The blood of our fallen heroes wasted. Our awareness campaigns, rallies, protest marches, and sleepless nights of strategizing on how to restore our independence wasted. Our hard-earned money spent in funding the struggle wasted. What then can we do? What must we do? We must read this complaint and fully understand its implications and potential to kill our revolution. We must pull together and close our ranks, as this attack is against all of us. We must retain legal counsel that is experienced in these matters to prepare the strongest defense ever for these charges that are supposedly against Tapang Ivor and the ADF, but that are in reality against all of us. We must be ready to testify as to who the real terrorists are in our homeland. We must organize ourselves and embark on a massive campaign to counter these allegations. We must sign petitions manifesting our will, our position on this matter, and the ongoing war in our homeland, wherever presented. If the need arises, we must go down in our huge numbers to California and protest peacefully in front of this Nsalai law firm, the courthouse. In fact, wherever this matter goes, we must make a massive appearance to counter this great falsehood against us. This is no joke at all. This lawsuit is the one singular thing that could kill this revolution, especially for those of us here in the United States who are subject to the jurisdiction of the United States legal system. Alternatively, this lawsuit could very well be the cord that binds us and gives us the strength needed to get to the finish line. If we are not talking about this lawsuit and strategizing on how to fight back, then we might as well just roll up our mats, and go home. This is C. Ajibo Ambe for Ambazonia Calling.
Still ahead in this edition, we have The Devil Unmasked with Professor Emmanuel Tatamenta. We have a winner of the Nyamfuka of the Week. And we are not done until you have heard our letter to Joshua. So stay tuned, kick back, relax, and enjoy Ambazonia Calling. Welcome, Bobe Lambert and Bom. You've got our editorial for the week.
2018 has been a very momentous year in the restoration quest for the people of Ambazonia. Ambazonians have made a great and lasting difference in the trajectory of this revolution. There has been plenty of good news, even in the midst of so much bad news. Ground Zero reeks of death, especially with the internecine battles raging, while social media is ablaze with hate-filled rhetoric, and the diaspora continues to remain fractious and fractionalized. One would be gravely mistaken to believe that this revolution would be the exception to the laws of nature and revolutions. Ebbs and flows, highs and lows are the very definition of such ventures. It is unconscionable that Ambazonian self-defense forces are turning their guns against each other. Clearly, this is the poisoned fruit of the thirst for power and control on Ground Zero. The attempt to centralize power within a single command structure, laudable as that may be, is antithetical to guerrilla warfare. It is this madness of some power-drunk warlords who have opened many battlefronts on Ground Zero with forces loyal to the Ambazonia Self-Defense Council, ASC, seeking to outsmart and outmaneuver Ambazonian Defense Forces, ADF, and vice versa, to name but these, instead of seeking paths to collaboration and even in military parlance, learned deconflicting. This is a great danger to the struggle. Self-defense has sadly become self-complacency and even self-aggrandizement, and this may even degenerate to self-defeat. But no, we must keep hope alive. On the diplomatic front, the noose is tightening around the neck of the colonial regime. Lame as it is, the UN Security Council's recent pronouncement on the crisis is a clear sign of the progress we are making. Coming on the heels of the gracious proclamations from the House of Lords in the United Kingdom, indisputably there is momentum growing on the international scene. Even the US Congress is on the Ambazonian case. We must capitalize on these gains and intensify campaigns across the international stage and remind these countries that well done is always better than well said. The wheels of diplomacy are grinding slowly but surely. The progress we have made risks being erased by our own mistakes. The time has come for each Ambazonian dedicated to this restoration quest to come to terms with the truth that we have met the enemy and he is us. We have spent the greater part of 2018 tearing down each other. Genuine disagreements have quickly given way to intense distrust. Congressman Paul Ryan, in his exit speech as Speaker of the U.S. House of Assembly, describes the divisive state of American politics, which is applicable to the current state of the Ambazonian Revolution when he said, "We spend far more time trying to convict one another rather than we do trying to develop our own convictions. We have designed a structure that preys on people's fears, algorithms that play on anger, and outrage has become a brand. As we bid 2018 farewell, we must ring in the new year with a firm resolve to shade off the excesses we are fed into monsters that are about to devour us. The daily and constant vilification of other Ambazonian soldiers only serves the enemy, Bia. We must come to terms with the fact that many of us activists spend hours making the work of the colonial regime easier. Yes, the Chinese philosopher Sun Tzu, in his Art of War, has some sound admonition relevant to us all. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. Lambert Mbom for Ambazonia Calling.
This thing will go on for 50 and 100 years. You cannot kill everybody. And even if you kill everybody, the stones would avenge for the blood that spills on them. The soil will get up and start fighting.
You have plenty of show yet to come, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
The people of West Cameroon cannot be your slaves. The people of West Cameroon are not. You did not conquer them in war. The problem we have in West Cameroon is the problem that will bring down Cameroon. When people have had pent-up anger and pain, humiliation, for over 50 years, when it bursts out, you will never be able to control it.
They will sooner realize that the people of Ambazonia will not surrender. They will sooner realize that you can arrest and kill, but the more you arrest and kill, the more you energize the people's spirit.
Let's go straight now to the opening part of our news wrap-up for the week. Here is Bobe Innocentia.
Tapang Ivo Tanku is yet to be served in a lawsuit filed Thursday in a California court by the local law firm of Cameroonian-American barrister Emmanuel Salai. The complaint, which also specifically names as conspirators Ayaba Cho, Chris Anu, Bo Herbert, Akwanga Ebenezer, Mark Barreta, Ikome Sako, Eric Tato, and others, basically describes Tapang Ivo, the ADF, the IG, all frontline groups, as well as every one of us, anyone resident in the United States and supportive of a free and independent Ambazonia, terrorist, as defined by U.S. terrorism laws. The 66-page complaint, many observers and astute legal minds observe, must be seen by Ambazonians as a calculated attack on the entire liberation struggle, with the goal of dissuading and even killing momentum, even as the international community accelerates demands on La République du Cameroon for negotiations without preconditions. The plaintiffs, names withheld but referred to as John Doe and Jane Doe, purportedly lost their parents in a May 20th incident in Banso. In the meantime, the principal accused, Tapang Ivo Tanku, has released a comprehensive statement expressing his condolences with John and Jane Doe, as well as reiterating the need for the self-defense of Ambazonia from the colonial terrorist forces and regime of La République du Cameroon. The statement is making the rounds on social media and can be found as well on the Facebook page of Tapang Ivo Tanku.
My fellow Amberlanders, this is your humble servant, Edwin Foncha. I greet you all. I rarely come on camera to speak to you people, but whenever I do, know something is at stake that could potentially destroy our revolution.
Ever since the mounting of pressure by the United States Congress, the UK, the UN, and other international instances for Cameroon to negotiate with Ambazonia without preconditions, La République du Cameroon has unleashed a multifaceted, multi-pronged campaign aimed at discrediting and dismantling hardened revolutionaries who are unyielding to Cameroon's plans for decentralization.
We have intercepted intelligence of a master plan cooked up by La République du Cameroon 3 months ago to destroy the revolution in this 2019 coming. And I want to expose them and keep all Ambazonians on alert.
Intelligence thus far gathered reveals that alongside the disarmament committees set up by the government to showcase fake Ambazonians giving up their arms, federalists like the freelance reporter Elise Smith have been hired to cook up fake numbers in the hope of further fragmenting those who would settle for nothing but independence for Ambazonia. On Friday, December 28th, social media activist Edwin Shu connected dots between renewed calls by Chris Anu to disown and defund any and every group that is not subservient to his authority and the plot of La République du Cameroun to hire strident voices that have infiltrated the movement. General Arke of the Ambazonian Defense Forces of BOYO has been rescued from the hands of his captors. Unimpeachable sources say a razor-sharp search and rescue mission was carried out by the Arke loyalists Christmas night breaking into Boxing Day on Wednesday, December 26th. No shots were fired, no one killed. General Arke is reportedly safe, recovering and getting debriefed. According to our sources, General Arke and the team will be issuing a thank you statement to those who have stood by him and advocated for his release as soon as conditions allow without compromising any security details. In the meantime, the BOYO Council, underlings of the IG and Ambazonia Self-Defense Council group that kidnapped and imprisoned General Arke for 2 months running, has issued a statement acknowledging the disappearance of General Arke. Signed by Ntumfoyn, chairman of the BOYO Council, the December 26th statement wishes well to General Arke and, in a twist of irony, for Arke's kidnappers to respect him. Sources, meantime, have also confirmed that the council has been in disarray, wherefore General Nye, the pick to replace General Amigo, who was gunned down in Kom by the genocidal forces of La République du Cameroun, has been missing in action. You are listening to Ambazonia Calling, the heartbeat of informed news analysis and commentary, and I am Innocent Chia. Stay tuned for more of the stories that made your news.
Don't go anywhere, Bobby Innocent Chia. We're coming back to you right away with the second part of our news wrap-up for the week.
A former mayor of one of the municipalities in Douala, the economic capital of La République du Cameroun, has blamed the government of Cameroon for what he terms planned arson attacks in Banguran, a border village between the northwestern region of La République du Cameroun and the northern zone occupied territory of Ambazonia.
I am still to believe that what happened in Banguran is an attack by the Amba boys. You can see the immediate reaction of the Minister of Territorial Administration. It's as if they had anticipated or they had prepared for what happened in Banguran, because 2 days after, you find the minister going there with tons and tons of material as assistance to those who have suffered. It's not enough for inhabitants of Banguran to say that the attackers came from Bangulan in the northwest region. But what is going to be important is the investigation that has to be carried out. You cannot immediately just hear declarations that they came from the northwest region, and you jump to conclude that they came really from the northwest region. When did the investigations take place?
Speaking on Equinox TV, Mayor John Kumaze wondered out loud how come the Minister of Territorial Administration, who has hardly visited any of the close to 200 villages certifiably burned down by La République du Cameroun in Ambazonia, was able to rally all the help for the village of Banguran at so short a notice.
Why couldn't they rush to help those who were displaced in the northwest and southwest with that very speed? Why should they rush to this one? They shall explain to us. People have gone the same treatment, undergone the same treatment in the northwest and southwest region. The minister has never rushed there with the speed with which he went to Bangura. Is there something that we can think behind our head? That something was prepared? To me, I think what is happening... Yes, what was prepared? By who? Well, by those who are acting as if they knew that something would happen.
In the meantime, some natives of the village of Bamoun in the Nun division, Cameroon's western region, are forewarning their fellow citizens not to accept a proposed weaponization of the citizenry against Ambazonians by Cameroon's rogue Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji. The reaction comes on the heels of the understanding that Paul Atanganji is responsible for the arson in Banguran and is going to multiply operations in smaller border towns and villages.
Let those who want to distract what the international community is calling them to do. They are calling on this government to initiate an inclusive dialogue. They are not doing it. They are instead trying to distract, to take the heat that is falling on them in the northwest and southwest to the west region. I don't know whether they know the consequences of what they are trying to do.
Signed on December 26th, the signatories remind their fellow compatriots of the historical and blood bonds that tie the Bamoun people with ethnic groups in Ambazonia. As La République du Cameroon continues its scorched earth policy of burning villages across Ambazonia, 2 Ambazonians were burnt alive Friday, December 28th by Bia's militia in Big Babanki in the northern zone. Activists in the UK are appealing for Ambazonians across Great Britain to forward as soon as possible the pictures to their MPs across the board, Conservative, Labour, SNP, and any other parties, and to make sure they are accusing the British government of remaining indifferent in the face of genocide in southern Cameroons. Finally, an unidentified head chopped off from the rest of the body and thrown reportedly on Chair Street, Bamenda, made a round of social media late Friday. Unconfirmed reports say it was a paramilitary officer of La République du Cameroon. No defense group has claimed the brutish act. Another beheading of a bee in the southern zone has also been circulating on social media with no claims as to who may have carried it out. Innocent Chia for Ambazonia Calling.
The team here at Ambazonia Calling wishes all of you Ambazonians, friends of Ambazonia, and fans of this program a very, very happy New Year 2019.
Welcome to our special interview segment, The Devil Unmasked, The Truth Out.
Welcome, Professor Tata Menta, to The Devil Unmasked.
Thanks for your invitation.
Today we'll be taking a look at rape as an instrument of war in Ambazonia.
Rape or sexual terrorism being used on Ambazonian ladies as a weapon of mass extermination of the people of Ambazonia.
Do we know the historical roots of this evil?
Historically in Ntumfoyn, genocidal rape is the action of a group that has carried out acts of mass rape during wartime against their perceived enemy as part of a genocidal campaign. Rape is being used in Ambazonia not only as a weapon of war, but also as a weapon of genocide. It is not for nothing that armed terrorists of the Satanic Republic of Cameroon will rape a nursing mother at a gas station in Bamenda or invade university students' hostels in BOYO and Bamenda to bundle students up and truck them to military camps for mass sexual assaults.
Is rape as an instrument of genocide a new phenomenon?
Not at all, Ntumfoyn. According to Amnesty International, the use of rape during times of war is not a byproduct of conflicts alone. Rather, it is a pre-planned and deliberate military strategy. During these conflicts, the use of rape as a weapon against the civilian population by state and non-state actors has become more frequent. Examples abound in cases like Rwanda, Democratic Republic of Congo, Somalia, Bosnia, and many other countries.
And how do we prove that genocide is occurring as part of rape?
To prove that genocide is occurring, let us follow the United Nations definition that a protected group is being wiped out systematically, either in significant part or in whole, based on their specific attributes. Now, proving that rape is being used as a weapon of genocide is a whole different matter.
Rape does not necessarily lead to death. So, could you explain to our listeners how this is also genocide?
Ntumfoyn, you are very, very correct to state that rape does not accomplish the goal of death. But let me tell you that many scholars argue that soldiers or fighters who rape are preventing the women from bearing another generation from their protected group. Raped women are often impregnated, and if not, they are ostracized from the community and left by their families and husbands. It should be noted, Ntumfoyn, that during war and armed conflict like the one unleashed by the Satanic Republic of Cameroon against the peace-loving people of Ambazonia, rape is frequently used as a weapon of mass psychological warfare in order to humiliate the Ambazonian enemy. Remember how enraged Honorable Wilbert Joseph was when his niece was raped at the University of BOYO. Wartime sexual violence may occur in a variety of situations, including institutionalized sexual slavery, wartime sexual violence associated with specific battles or massacres, and individual or isolated acts of violence.
What impact is rape as genocide intended to achieve?
As a tactic, Ntumfoyn, genocidal rape or ethnic cleansing has a number of systemic impacts. It is intended to enable terrorist forces like those of the Satanic Republic of Cameroon to eliminate Ambazonian civil support for the resistance by eliminating the civilians, thus recognizing Mao Zedong's dictum that guerrillas among a civilian population are fish in water. It removes the fish by draining the water. So draining the support is very important. That is why some individuals of French Cameroon have encouraged Nazi jingoism of exterminating rats, 2 cubes of sugar, dogs, roaches, Biafrans, and name it. It thus establishes facts on the ground, radical demographic changes which can be very hard to reverse.
Do you mean that it is part of this policy to move populations around, especially away from their ancestral lands?
The policy by the Satanic Republic of Cameroon under Lucifer Paul Biya is that Southern Cameroonians could be anywhere in Cameroon, but not on their natural resource-rich ancestral land. Lucifer Biya's declaration of war on the 30th of November 2017 was intended to disperse the population of Ambazonia as internally displaced folks into his French Cameroon. That is why the Minister of Agriculture of the Satanic Republic of Cameroon was quick in inviting Francophone youths interested in agriculture to sign up for training and resettlement at NDIAN as farmers.
All of this occurring courtesy of impunity.
Historically, Ntumfoyn, any war leaves women and children particularly vulnerable. Women, girls, and even young children are all too often raped, abducted, and forced into sexual slavery as social and economic structures fall apart. Do you remember the slogan of in Yaoundé particularly, Ashakeng Song Bamenda? That is sexual slavery of young Ambazonian housemaids from Bamenda. Unfortunately, impunity is often the norm. Rape is identified by psychologists as the most intrusive of traumatic events. Systematic rape is often used as a weapon of war in ethnic cleansing. The high risk of infection with sexually transmitted diseases, including HIV/AIDS, chronic syphilis, and name them, accompanies all sexual violence against women and girls. The movement of refugees and marauding military units and the breakdown of health services and public education worsens the impact of diseases and chances for treatment. Do you have any doubt, Ntumfoyn, why sexual terrorists from the Satanic Republic of Cameroon would invade and occupy hospitals in Ambazonia, even to the extent of fighting with Reverend Sisters at Shisong Hospital?
And for our listeners who may not know, Shisong is in Kumbo, in the northern zone of Ambazonia. But this kind of evil, what exactly are they looking for?
Ntumfoyn, rape committed during war is often intended to terrorize the population, break up families, destroy communities, and in some instances, change the ethnic makeup of the next generation. Sometimes it is also used to deliberately infect women with HIV or render women from the targeted community incapable of bearing children. For centuries, rape has been systematically used as a weapon of war to destroy the fabric of a society from the inside. Sexual violation of women erodes the fabric of a community in a way that few weapons can. The harm inflicted in such cases, Ntumfoyn, on women by a rapist is an attack on her family and culture. As in all African societies, Ntumfoyn, you very well know, women are viewed as repositories of a community's cultural and structural values. In addition to rape, girls and women are also subject to forced prostitution and trafficking during times of war, sometimes with the complicity of governments and military authorities, as in the case of the Satanic Republic of Cameroon. Women are often abducted, imprisoned, and forced to satisfy the emotional and sexual needs of occupying forces like those of this Satanic Republic.
Is this crime punishable under any international status?
Ntumfoyn, yes, certainly it is. The Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court in force since July 2002 includes rape, sexual slavery, enforced prostitution, forced pregnancy, enforced sterilization, any other form of sexual violence of comparable gravity as a crime against humanity when it is committed in a widespread or systemic way. The United Nations Security Council has carried out quite a good number of moves to ensure that people are sensitized about what is called genocidal rape. For example, Security Council Resolution 1325 of 2000 and then Security Council Resolution 1820 of 2008, then Security Council Resolution 1888 of 2009, then Security Council Resolution 1889 of 2009 again, then Security Council Resolution 1960 of 2010, and finally Security Council Resolution 2106 of 2013. All these have been carried out to make sure that the world is well sensitized to what is meant by genocidal rape. When you look at examples like United Nations action, for example, supported the design and implementation of the first ever comprehensive strategy on combating sexual violence in the Democratic Republic of Congo, as well as the joint government UN program on sexual violence in Liberia.
I know you've already said a lot that needs to be noted by the rapists and the occupation forces of the colonialists in Ambazonia, but do you have any last word of advice for them?
The days are numbered for the genocidal sexual terrorists and their commanders to enter the International Court of Justice, or the International Criminal Court.
And what message do you have for Ambazonians this week?
Ntumfoyn, I will make it clear. Let Ambazonians be vigilant. Let nobody fall prey to the machinations of genocidal sexual terrorists from the Satanic Republic of Cameroon.
Always a pleasure to have you, Professor Tata Menta. Have a wonderful week.
Ntumfoyn, thanks for having me. Aluta continua, Victoria et Celta.
Ambazonia Calling. You are in the heart of the news shrine. Call us the Kalakuta Republic of Commentary, Opinion, and Editorials.
I don't know if anyone knows exactly how to describe what this is, but this is the latest outing from the IG group. This is Chris Anu.
Seek redemption and only be readmitted into the stakeholders' fold if he submit to the interim government interrogations, show remorse, repentance, and apologize publicly to the Ambazonian people. These are the only circumstances under which this interim government and Ambazonian people will be willing to reconsider Cho Ayaba for any unity and collaboration initiatives. The following measures were taken from that security meeting to restrain Ayaba and others from their excesses and to have Ambazonians rebuild trust in the leadership and the prosecution of the revolution. Number one, from today, all ADF, SOCADEF, and AMF activities on Ground Zero are banned. Going forward, there shall be nothing known and called by those names on Ground Zero. All ADF, AMF, and SOCADEF forces are invited to join their direct county forces and to work as a unit. They are called upon to do so immediately through consultations with the different commanders in different counties. This is the only means by which they can benefit from resources coming from the local government areas. Number two, no ADF forces are allowed to exist or function in any county and local government in Ambazonia. All local governments and communities are empowered to self-police and devise methods of countering any non-interim government restoration forces operating in its communities. Number three, the interim government disowns and distances itself from the AGC, its activities, and its leader, Cho Ayaba, and equally condemns and distances itself from any commander engaged in such activities. Moving forward, the AGC shall have no place in all collaborative platform of the interim government. And other nationalist groups still associating or wanting to associate with the AGC will be considered accomplices of the murders perpetrated on the Ambazonian people by these groups. Number four, the interim government is sending an open communique to all local government areas, worldwide administrators, cautioning them to suspend sponsorship of any activities or initiatives coming from the AGC pending the investigation of alleged gross human rights violations in Guzan, Mogamo, Muyenge, Meme, NDIAN, and Ekate in FAKO, and elsewhere, as well as to notify the federal government of the existence of any self-defense group, term AGC or associating with the AGC in the local government area on Ground Zero, for immediate intervention from the federal marshal. Number five, Ambazonians to remove all AGC surrogates from their fora, block or deny friendship to all AGC members from your social media platforms, inform AGC members of their inclusion in a watch list as bad actors of the revolution. No sharing of any AGC-related posts or material going forward in any Ambazonia fora. Admins should immediately remove any defaulter from the forum. Number six, Ambazonians all over the diaspora should consider banning all AGC meetings or conventions in our respective countries by reporting intentions of any of such meetings to the local police in the diaspora. Number 7, we urge Ground Zero to collaborate in sending evidences of any known ADF and other killings and abductions to the interim government using the email support@ambazoniagov.org. Again, the email is support@ambazoniagov.org. Again, send any evidence that you find relating to abductions, killings, kidnappings by the ADF and any other group on the ground. Send that information to support. Email address support@ambazoniagov.org. Support@ambazoniagov.org. With these measures and others that are still classified, ladies and gentlemen, it is our hope that moving into the new year, sanity will have been restored on Ground Zero and people feeling safe to engage in their daily activities. Of course, we are aware of fake Amber boys belonging to Paul Atanganji, Patrick Ekema, Philemon Yan, Ngole and others. They shall equally be treated as these proscribed groups will be treated going forward. The Federal Marshal is an elite force being constituted or created by the interim government to police the force on Ground Zero. Thanks for watching. Long live to the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Short live the struggle.
I have got just one comment. I mean, if you woke up in the 1960s and the president was Amadou Ahidjo, he would be more decent. Here's Joyaba responding.
Don't listen to agents provocateurs. Don't listen to all those who work for the regime, who think they can ban anybody. They don't have the powers. It's not because we are quiet that we are silent that makes them think they have the powers. We will work together, Ambazonians. Any group of people, any individual who thinks they cannot collaborate with one another, they have no space in Ambazonia. Collaboration is difficult. It takes time. It takes confidence building measures. Leaders should be patient. Leaders should exercise restraint. Leaders should be cautious. They should mind what they say because words matter. The world is listening. We will not go down into the pigsty to fight with the buffalo. We will conduct ourselves with respect for one another. Treat one another with the same level of integrity that we would treat ourselves. No one can ban anybody in this revolution. No one has the powers to pass laws in this revolution. Forces on the ground, you are bound to work together. You are bound to collaborate or you die. The person who defends you on the northeast must not be your friend, must be an Ambazonian. The person who defends you on the southeast must not be from your same group, but can save your life. Do not listen to anybody from the diaspora who preaches hate, who preaches intolerance, who preaches division, who cantonizes the territory into little counties or into little suburbs. We are one, bound together by our suffering, bound together because we have the same destiny, bound to fight together, to work together even when we disagree. It is tough to unite the people. It is tough to collaborate. It doesn't matter how many times you fall. What matters is how many times you fall, get up, get dusted, try again, and keep walking. That is our call for the Ambazonian people. That is the plan for 2019. I will lay it out in a concise timeline that will give you a clear understanding. We will not talk to La Republique at this moment until we become a contender. We will not talk to anyone because we don't want to be pushed around the way we have been pushed around in 57 years. When we become a contender, there will be no way they can reverse our gains. You will know our strength. You will know our capabilities. you will know we have reached the point when Cameroon will only negotiate its way out of Ambazonia. All those who want to talk, not in our name. It will not be in our name. The buck stops with the Ambazonian people. Any leader, any individual or groups of people who think they can play away the destiny of the Ambazonian people are playing with fire. This is the never again generation. We will fight to our graves and even allow the next generation to negotiate their freedom than hurry, than want to be the ones who must liberate, whose names must go into history as the liberators.
It is not difficult to say who the big boy is after you listen to both of those audios, but there was more reaction. Here is Wilbert Ade with excerpts from the remarks made by Mark Barretta Online.
Fellow Ambazonians, I have listened with shock and dismay to the position of the interim government banning the AGC, the ADF, the AMF, and SOCADEF. The decision of the IG also bans all their activities on Ground Zero, as well as calls on Ambazonians in the diaspora to report to their local police stations should any of these groups organize any meeting and or gathering. Listening to this decision from Chris Anu, the IG's communications secretary, I became terrified and I was shaken as I listened. My jaws fell and my body was covered with chills. I was dumbfounded because the move reminded me of La République's move on January 17, 2017, when they took the dictatorial decision to ban the consortium, the SCNC, and their activities. That move alone from Cameroon destroyed anything we had with them, shut the doors to any dialogue, and led to the current state of the revolution. I am still to understand what powers the IG has to ban groups, especially those with guns, and how they intend to implement this decision, other than to ask their military wing, the ASC, to engage in actions to implement this decision. We already know what the outcome would be should anything like that happen. I personally think such a move is a disrespect to the thousands of forces under ADF, SOCADEF, and AMF command. Our self-defense forces on Ground Zero are not test tubes to protect the diaspora political power. It should not happen. The IG's decision to declare these types of moves against other groups does not only shut down any form of collaboration, but opens room for serious infighting. It is a recipe for self-defense forces to turn their guns against each other. As an independent activist who supports the interim government but still recognizes the role other groups are playing, I personally think this decision coming from the IG is the most shocking decision taken in 2018. It is ill thought, foolish, and has lots of political implications beyond our comprehension. I am saddened and I think it is a shame. I refuse to go with the emotional reactions of Ambazonians. Like I said, what I see with the current situation is that of greed, power control, and domination. It's got nothing to do with anyone being compromised. I stated earlier that no leader nor group at this stage is compromised, and such a move from the IG only makes 2019 frightening and difficult. That said, based on what I know, and mindful of the activities of all the groups which I am privy to, whether good or bad, I cannot in good faith support the decision of the IG. I will not in any form or shape support these decisions. In honor of my conscience, my integrity, my undiluted contributions to this revolution, myself and Barretta News shall continue sharing and propagating all communications, events, and activities coming from all groups, including the IG, so long as those communications, activities, or events honor the Ambazonian flag and put the Ambazonian people first, without any iota of division. Ambazonians may not agree with me, but this is how I am going to enter 2019. More rigorous in pushing for an Ambazonian Revolutionary Council with a political and a defense wing. This is how we are going to win. My loyalty remains to the flag and the flag only. God bless Ambazonia. From activist Mark Barra of Barretta News, delivered in studio by Willibrod Ade for Ambazonia Calling.
We must go and use every forum that we have to remind the world that the people of Ambazonia are being massacred and slaughtered on a daily basis, and the time has come for the world to rise, and that the world must now begin to speak about the question of Ambazonia and their right to self-determination.
There are two Cameroons that came together. If you are telling us that what happened in Cameroon is like dropping a few cubes of sugar into a basin of water, who is the sugar and who is the water?
Doubting Thomases who think that this is a battle which will be concluded through military action will discover to their shock and chagrin at once that it will not happen.
This is Ambazonia Calling.
The decision by the IG group announced Saturday by Chris Anu is consistent IG policy. This is not new policy. This is who the IG is. This is how the IG has behaved. We have one example dating back from Christmas Day when the Tigress of Ambazonia was being told by a certain Marcellus Atanga that she needed exactly to toe the line because the tigers are not recognized and must operate in MEZAM according to guidelines provided by the IG group.
This is Queen Tigress speaking right now. Other soldiers, other leaders are enjoying this Christmas while my heart is so heavy, full of tears. I could not believe one leader could just come from nowhere and say his name is Marcelo Atanga, telling me that I have to be under him. I have to join his group. There's no tiger group in this Amber land. It's only his group that is in the whole MEZAM. It was so painful. He started abusing me, straightening my life. I don't like what that man is doing. And I even dropped his call. He told me that next time if I drop his call, it would not be better for me. Why would this leader do something like that? Why is he so jealous? What have I done for him to be jealous of me? But let me make it clear. I am Queen Tigress. This Queen Tigress, they give me in Aquia Paris because of my hard work, my labor, my truthfulness. They give me. All my life, I have worked under Tiger since this struggle started. And Tiger is all over Amber land. And our mother's camp is in MENCHUM at womb. So you cannot just come from nowhere and say there's no tiger in MEZAM. Why there's tiger in MEZAM? I don't do bad work. I don't think about other people. I don't care about other people's problem. All I want is that we should be free from this evil revolution. I want us to be free. I want to live a happiest life in my family, with my people. I want us to be united. But for me to deny Tiger and be under this man group, I will never do that until the day I will die. I can never change my group because only Tiger know me. Where were they when I start this struggle? They were not. What have they ever done for me that they can just stand up and say I should leave? I will not leave. I will never leave Tiger. I will remain as Tiger till the end of this world. You people should bear me witness. If anything happened to me, please contact this man, because what this man have just spoken is not good. The only person I know in this revelation is Part Tiger.
Marcelo Satanga responded to the Queen Tigress, and his response basically said, yes, we're here to make sure you toe the line. You either toe the line or you cannot work in MEZAM. Very consistent with IG talking points.
I called you, I advised you. I told you how you're supposed to behave as a commander. You should be honest with yourself if you are truly a leader. I did not insult you. No, I didn't. I did not even say you must change. No, I didn't. But I made it categorically clear to you that if you must operate in MEZAM, you have to operate under the rules of those working in MEZAM. This is not debatable, whether you like it or not. You are free to operate anywhere, that is fine. But MEZAM has a rule of conduct. Let me tell you something. Your callousness last week made me to lose 5 soldiers. And you know that. You know what you did, and we lost 5 soldiers. I've not rebuked you for that. I've taken the pains to understand that as a fighter on the ground, we make mistakes. I've forgiven that mistake. I've not even bothered. We didn't only lose 5 soldiers. We lost 5 soldiers and a stock of materials.
The wording from Marcelo Satanga is very telling. You must toe the line, you must work according to our guidelines, or you must get out of MEZAM. This is exactly consistent with the policy announced Saturday by Chris Anu on behalf of the IG group. Speaking of the Tigers, and before I get to that, straight ahead in this edition, we're going to take a look in a mini-series of what needs to be done to get to recognition. We'll be comparing a number of countries with Ambazonia, countries that were in the same predicament of looking for recognition at some stage in their lives. But I was going to mention King Tiger, Martin Cho, who this week decided he wanted to say a few words to honor General Ivo, the late General Ivo.
We should be worried about the freedom of Ambazonia, not about Ivo. Ivo said it in his own words. Ivo has inspired so many Amba boys and girls how to start up with nothing to something. He was a model to a lot of you guys. They are ground zero. You guys joined the struggle because you saw the type of person Ivo was. Ivo encouraged the Amba boys and girls to face La République head on. He was never afraid of La République. Ivo has taught us, given us the courage, the fearless spirit to fight La République. I will add here, Ivo has terrorized the terrorists. Terrorists who crossed over the Mongo, came into our land, killing our people indiscriminately, raping our wives, pushing our population into the bushes. Look at all the qualities of a leader, of a legend. Oh, what a legend. I celebrate you, brother. I celebrate you, brother. I celebrate you. Ambazonia will be something that will come to pass. It's not just a dream, but it's a reality because of people like Ivo, because of other fallen heroes, because a lot of you Amba boys and girls, you have stood up to say never again, never again.
This is Ambazonia. One nation, one soul, one people. Sacrificing, bleeding, and yes, dying if need be, until we kick the colonialists out and enthrone a government of the people in BOYO.
Senior officials of both the United Nations and the International Criminal Court have said what is unfolding in Ambazonia is genocide. Mention genocide, and most people think of human beings slaughtered for who they are, not what they have done. One aspect of genocide that is hidden from public view and that very few mention when it comes to Ambazonia is cultural genocide. And here, with our analysis on that, on his first assignment on Ambazonia Calling, is Delano Mukong.
I am an Ambazonian American. Part of my childhood was spent in Ambazonia, but also in colonial Cameroon. So when my parents told me that citizens of Ambazonia were being accused of bearing weapons, I did not understand what crime exactly the colonialists were blaming Ambazonians for. This is because one of the memories imprinted indelibly into my mind from childhood is going to watch masquerades perform at funerals and cry-dye ceremonies. These are the kind of sounds you would typically hear at a funeral almost anywhere in Ambazonia, especially in the northern zone. Those celebrating in this audio are not begging for a war. They never owned weapons for violent purposes. The gun firing you hear in the background at funerals and cry-dyes like this one, which I attended as a young man, are all about celebrating life, not taking life. I am saddened to learn that the colonial regime of Paul Biya has launched a vast campaign punishing Ambazonians for owning weapons, which are part of their culture and festivals, well known to the colonialists and to any tourists and diplomats who have visited the region. I am saddened that the international community is letting the Biya regime round up, seize, and not only destroy, but use such cultural artifacts as incriminating tools against a peace-loving people. I would like to argue that this mass process of disarmament and mass seizure and destruction of ceremonial guns are part of a little reported but not less criminal act of cultural genocide against the peace-loving people of Ambazonia. What a shame it would be if organizations like the United Nations look the other way while a colonial regime uses a people's culture to incriminate them. This is Delano Mukong for Ambazonia Calling.
We don't do foolish, but when there are capital fools out there, we make it our duty to find them, and every week we crown one of them the Nyamfuka of the Week.
Joining us right now is Veronique Vatimfe with our rundown of the Queens and Kings of Foolish for the year 2018, a very special edition of Nyamfuka of the Week.
It is the close of the year, and we thought we should have a special edition that looks back at the 10 biggest fools of the year 2018. Let's do this in ascending order of magnitude in foolishness. Number 10, Gion Guti, Paul Gogomo, Yang Philemon, Paul Mafani Mosonge, and other natives of Ambazonia who remain actively working every day to deny Ambazonians their right to self-determination. Number 9, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres for offering, according to a report submitted to Paul Biya, to use his offices as UN scribe to cover for the genocidal regime of Cameroon. Number 8, members of Parliament and the Senate who hailed originally from Ambazonia, who pretended to be joining Honorable Joseph Wiba in fighting for Ambazonians on the floor of Parliament, only to pipe down from the vuvuzelas and whistles they used on the floor. Number 7, the Constitutional Council and the Electoral Commission, ELECAM, for their role in converting electoral defeat into victory, for the monster in power in Yaoundé. Number 6, the African Union, the Commonwealth of Nations, and the United Nations for their loud and criminal silence, along with their failure to evoke responsibility to protect, as thousands of Ambazonians were slaughtered in the course of 2018. Number 5, Cameroon's Minister of Defense, the minister in charge of territorial terrorism, the delegate for national gendarmerie, for their role in atrocity crimes and crimes against humanity and genocidal violence in Ambazonia. Number 4, the promoters of the so-called All Anglophone Conference, who insist on convening a conference in a venue where participants can only speak out at their own peril, and yet selling the conference to the international community as likely to offer a solution to a profound identity crisis. Number 3, and year-long third-place finisher, are all those government-hired criminals who have infiltrated the ranks or have formed units claiming to be Amber Boys, but have merely turned to extortion, hostage-taking, ransom collection, broad daylight stealing, torture, and even assassinations. Number 2, and year-long runner-up for the crown of shame, are those Ambazonian activists or leaders or members of the self-defense units on Ground Zero who have done anything to target civilians, those who have committed the arrest, disarming, torture and slaughter of civilians or prisoners or other self-defense forces, and all those who have failed to adhere to human rights and to the principles laid out in the Geneva Convention. Number 1, and the year-long winner of the crown of shame for 2018 are those terrorist forces of the Biya regime, notably the B and government-hired armed groups, who, along with their trainers, superiors, and colonial administrators, must be held accountable for mass abductions, torture, and incarcerations of Ambazonians. Those who have implemented Biya's scorched-earth practices, leading to the razing of over 170 villages, for the internal displacement of over 500,000 Ambazonians, and that have left 3.3 million Ambazonians in need of humanitarian assistance. These monsters, their colonial emperor, Hitler, Paul Biya, are the 2018 overall winners of the crown of shame, the Nyamfuka of the week.
Nyamfuka them all.
This is Veronique Vertimfe for Ambazonia Calling.
This is Ambazonia. One nation, one soul, one people. Sacrificing, bleeding, and yes, dying if need be, until we kick the colonialists out and enthrone a government of the people in BOYO.
I'm afraid we've run out of time. We're not going to be able to bring you, as promised, the series on recognition, on what Ambazonia should do, comparing its situation with other countries as it works for recognition. We will have that ready for you on the first week of 2019. With apologies to everyone who was already expecting to hear this series in this particular edition. Next Sunday will be another date. In the meantime, have a wonderful, wonderful New Year.
This is Ambazonia Calling.
Because you have your army of occupation out in West Cameroon, you believe that when the people will rise, even if you took the whole of the French army and added to yours, you will never bring them down.
And I call on all Cameroon soldiers to lay down their arms within Ambazonia and to turn their arms against the very system that has made them slaves in the land of their birth.
For more stories from around the world, go to the World Wide Web at themissionstribune.com, compassfreepress.com, and africafreedomnetwork.com.
Here is our letter to Joshua.
Dear Joshua, just like that, the year 2018 is coming to an end tomorrow. 2017 was just yesterday. It is one more year, wasted at the helm, lost to the citizens of the Republic of Bread and Sardine. It was another year in which the regime, powered by electoral fraud and endemic corruption, managed to maintain itself in power. Another year in which the bloodthirsty monsters in power slaughtered thousands more of innocent Ambazonians in the misguided and already lost battle of keeping Ambazonia under annexation within the one and indivisible whatever. It was a year when the international community accepted all those golden gifts. What am I saying? It was a year when the Commonwealth, the United Nations, the Confederation of African Football did not hesitate to accept golden bribes from the tenant of the Palace of Disunity in Gola, only to turn around and ask him to submit to the international mediated talks, or in the case of the football jamboree, to simply withdraw hosting rights from the land of Njanga and Crayfish. It is called public shaming of the highest order. But how can a regime that has sold shame even feel any shame at all? So, instead of hiding your face in one of those heaps of trash that decorate street corners in Gola, I've been told, now do not ask me who because I don't disclose my sources, but I have been told, as I was saying, that instead of just hiding your sorry self in shame, you still plan to take to the airwaves on the state-owned House of Lies tomorrow night to hash even more elaborate falsehoods and tell to the citizens. Let me help you out here, Joshua. Why don't you just blame Kamto and his supporters for failing to defend their victory at the presidential elections and leaving you with responsibilities you cannot fully assume? Why not just blame Ambazonians for the genocidal violence your terrorist forces have been inflicting on citizens in that country? After all, you assume no responsibility. Why not hire law firms in foreign lands to victimize the victims of your crimes against humanity in Ambazonia? Why not blame Ambazonians for looting their own homes and razing their villages? Why not just blame Ambazonians for burning down their schools, for burning their own parents and loved ones alive in their homes? Why not blame the Confederation of African Football for not going along with the corruption that delayed preparations and had more money to pay out if only they could delay the deadline for completing the works? Do you know the Republic could have paid more money if you just delayed completion time for the works, you guys at the CAF? Is it so difficult for CAF to understand that Cameroon promised to emerge from the graveyard of nations no earlier than the year 2035? So why give them a competition to be hosted in 2019? They won't even be ready in 2035. I don't want any citizens of the Bread and Sardine Republic to get a heart attack when they hear you make the argument in your speech on Monday night that you won that presidential election by 71%, when everyone knows that your real score is closer to writing that number 71 backwards. We would understand if you would only credit the Constitutional Council for turning electoral defeat into victory, and for the miracle of turning 17% of the vote into 71% of the vote. Who wants Jesus when you have the Constitutional Council to work your miracles for you? Who wants the armed and security forces of the Bread and Sardine Republic perpetrating war crimes when Paul Atangana or Atangananji has a military to do the dirty job of Africa's bloodiest dictator for him? Why bother about committing atrocity crimes in Ambazonia when you can simply blame the burning alive of civilians like Mami Api on her grandchildren for leaving her unattended? Why bother about the slaying of missionaries when your terrorist forces have killed a Kenyan priest, a Ghanaian pastor, and an American missionary, and Cameroonian bishops and priests, and nothing has happened? No one has charged you before any court of law. That's called impunity and immunity. Why bother when you can simply, launch all these cross-border raids into refugee camps and neighboring countries where you can abduct and rendition asylum seekers and political exiles? Why bother about trying civilians in civilian courts when the military courts obey your orders a lot better? Why not invent 25,000 ghost workers in the public sector and suspend their slave salaries when the real difficulty your country is facing is that you are running out of money in the treasury? 2018 was another year when you did not hold a single cabinet meeting. We are at the close of another 365 days, of which you spent nearly one-third, a total of 118 days by one estimate, in your preferred hotel at the Intercontinental Hotel in Geneva. If I were you, Joshua, I would just deliver the end-of-year address from Geneva. After all, you are a citizen of Switzerland. Why return to Angola, where the palace does not even have steady power supply and no running water? Citizens of Bread and Sardine Republic will understand. They know already that you are bent on making 2019 and even more on Happy New Year. Yeah, Joshua. You keep the crown, man, for the biggest Nyamfoka of the past 40 years. You have been listening to Ambazonia Calling. We came to you from our studios here in Washington, D.C. Our producers today, Jeff McCoy, Logistics, Joe Costa, and Krista Cunningham. Our music is from Ken Wanaku, the monk, from Balikumato Vazukov himself, from William Ford, an Amber music star of blessed memory, from Eric Matisse on the web at soundimage.org, and from Prince Ajua Alem of Ajam, Sonicatron, USA. Ambazonia Calling is a joint production of Africa Freedom Network, the Missions Tribune, and Compass Free Press. You can find us on the web at missionstribune.com, at compassfreepress.com, and at africafreedomnetwork.com. Next Sunday is another date. Until then, keep the spirit, keep the faith, keep up the good fight for justice and independence for Ambazonia. Stay Amber strong.